Yeah.
Um,
Now I
I'm not, whatever. Unless I go off the rails, I don't see why I'd want anything censored.
yeah, you do that quite often actually. I'm surprised
Yeah, I mean,
your
like,
go ahead.
yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say I'm surprised that your Facebook is even still there.
Oh,
Like they let you back.
oh well, whatever. I don't think I'm saying anything like too outrageous now. I don't cuss a lot. I don't cuss in my videos. Speaking of
What do you
cussing,
get?
whatever happened to Brett Keane? Do you guys still talk to that guy?
Um yeah, actually he came on the show not too long ago and now it's done sparked some other psychopath out there ready to, strangle me to death. So,
Oh
just
my
one
God.
right after another, I guess. Cuz I wouldn't let this guy on my show cuz Brett was on and yeah,
Why do
now
you
he's pissed.
attract
He knows where I live.
psychopaths?
He doxed me. Huh?
Why do you why do you attract psychopaths?
I don't know. You know, um like I've said on my streams, like the first time I ever seen the movie Hellraiser, with the guy with the pins in his head,
Yeah.
I seen that guy and I was like, he's hot. And I was just a little kid, you know. I just have a thing for crazy killers. I don't know what it is. That's how I know. Yep. Yeah. Anyway, it's a whole thing and I don't know, I just piss these guys off somehow. I don't know.
Wow.
And this guy has a mail order bride that he got from the Philippines or something.
Oh
I'll
yeah,
probably
I
cut
just
that
talked.
part out though, just so I don't have to deal with his crap cuz he knows where I live and he said it on stream the other day. And I'm like, whoa, like what, because I didn't let the guy on my show, you know, now he's going to dox me and who knows what. I hope he does
Wow.
it while their mom's here. Have me
When's that
swatted with
happen?
the
When's
huh?
she coming there? When's that happening?
Sometime today, I
Oh, okay.
guess. Yeah.
Wow.
So that's, you know, been a total nightmare. Well, just everything has. um yeah, doesn't matter. That's not important, I guess. Well, I don't know.
Is that
I'm
what are
just
you
trying to
smoking?
like weed my
Is
blunt.
that
Sorry.
legal now?
I
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. They don't do anything about it, so
It's legal here in
I'm just
Ohio, so
Oh, you're in Ohio? Nice.
yeah, I'm in Ohio. Where'd you think I was?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. The only thing that I ever heard was I thought somebody had said that you recommended Washington to someone, so I thought maybe that's where you lived, but then I heard it was also Robert Beatty, so I'm not really sure. That was the only place I ever guessed, but I didn't really, I don't
You
know.
mean
You never really mentioned it. So.
Washington State?
Yeah,
Oh, okay. I think
somebody
Robert Beatty
gave.
lives in Colorado, so
Oh,
he's an
how?
interesting character too. I keep in contact with him a bit.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
just about to ask him if you do. How is he? I haven't talked to him in a minute.
Well, he's not following Kent Hovind as closely as he used to, and but he still peripherally keeps an eye on him. I mean, to be honest with you, Kent Hovind's been pretty quiet. I mean, yeah, his fourth wife just left him, but there's little drama around that because the fourth wife decided not to talk. The other women talked, so there was a lot of drama and a lot of YouTube streams where their ex-wives would come on and say all this stuff against Kent. And so this last
Yeah.
one that left just kept really quiet, and he doesn't have a YouTube channel anymore, so it's really kind of difficult to even watch what he's up to. I'm not going to get on Rumble or whatever he's on just to watch his shenanigans. But so
Yeah, I feel so bad for Cindy Lincoln now. Man, really
oh,
bad for her.
yeah. I mean, I don't know what's happening with all her cases, but she got screwed over pretty big time. So, I mean,
Yeah, I
she's
doubt they'll
partly to
go
blame.
anywhere.
She's could be 50% to blame. All of them should know better. But
No better of about what?
well, Cindy came in almost the day after he divorced Mary Tocco, and Mary Tocco and
He never
Cindy
did
were
divorce
friends.
Mary.
Well,
He
then
didn't
he's
divorce Mary.
committing adultery with all these women. So
Yeah.
So,
The
however you want to look
Cindy
at
and
it. If he's still
Cindy
married
and
with Mary Tokyo, he's been living in sin on Dino Land with these other women. So,
yeah.
but he was never
Definitely.
technically married to Mary Toko, to be honest with you. It was a sham marriage. It wasn't done legally.
Really?
Yeah,
Wait,
they weren't legally married.
I thought that him and Mary Toko were legally married, and then after that he ended up, like, as Robert Beatty would say, waving his hands, and then they were married, and then waving them, and they were unmarried. But
his first wife, his first wife he was actually legally married to, and I can't remember her name right now. I want to say her name might have been Mary too, but that was the first one that he was married to for 20, 30 years. They actually got a real marriage and a real divorce. Then he waved his hands with Mary Toko and magically were married, and as you say, magically divorced. Cindy basically comes in the next day and takes over as the new wife, and whatever. I mean, I'm not.
I agree with everything that goes on with them, but I don't agree. I think he is a friggin' womanizing, narcissistic abuser, and Cindy Lincoln was right. Everything she ever said was right, and she was right the whole time, and Kent never would admit it, and he still probably never will. And that won't help. It won't make her feel any better, but anyways, this isn't about me and what I think.
Yeah, it's crazy how he justifies it. He'll twist the scriptures around to justify. I mean, he has to claim. Well, there's a Bible verse. I think it might be in Peter. I don't know, where the only reason you can divorce another person is if the other one is unfaithful. Well, these people weren't unfaithful, and they get divorced, and he marries someone else. That's against what Jesus allowed or said that you could do. So, and I think I don't know how he justifies that but he justifies that it's okay what he's been doing through a lot of twisting and mental gymnastics to get around the Bible's prohibition to remarrying after two people leave for reasons other than infidelity. Anyway,
the weird thing about the whole thing is why would he even feel the need to tell anybody? He could just be shacking. He could have some hoe come up there and just be shacking up with her, and none of us would be the wiser. But for some reason, he keeps putting it out there.
Eventually, people would talk, and it might. Who knows? But not everyone's. Most people don't stay there very long. I mean, the people that end up at his compound there has to be something extremely wrong with your life to end up at Dr. Dino Land. Most of them have just gotten out of prison or don't have any money or are homeless or drug addicts. And they stay for a time, but eventually leave. And then they tell all. Once they leave, they tell all.
Well, I don't know if you've ever lived with anyone, but It's a pain in the ass, and it's a whole bunch of adults that are, like you said, recovering drug addicts, and people that don't have any hope, and they go there, and it. I'm sure it was awesome in the beginning, but what I've noticed is that it's very common that narcissists and freaking psychopaths end up over there. I mean, it's like they attract each other. I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Well, yeah, Ken Hovind is definitely a narcissist. I've never heard him admit blame. He's never admitted he's done anything wrong. I can't imagine going through life not being able to acknowledge your mistakes. It seems kind of weird to me, but hell, I say I'm sorry about 20 times a day. I'm really self-aware of my faults and my when I do things wrong. I also I worked a lot of years in the restaurant business, and sorry is like the most common word. You have to say it like 30 times a day. So I must have gotten used to say, hey, I'm sorry. I messed that up. I'm sorry your order's late. I'm sorry I
And you haven't
accidentally
said
spit in your
one
food,
sorry
blah,
to
blah,
me.
blah.
What about me?
Would I ever say
What
sorry
about
to
my
you?
sorries? No.
Huh?
And you're very mean to me.
I've been mean to you in the past. Yeah.
Thank you for admitting that. Thank you.
But
that
I
means a lot, actually.
think you're beautiful. You got great eyes, nice cheekbones. You look a little bit like Jodie Foster. I mean, you might even be more attractive than Jodie Foster. So.
Wow, thank you very much. I get it from
Are
my
you
mom.
young enough? Are you old enough to remember Jodie Foster?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
she's the alien chick, right?
No, she was in Silence of the Lambs.
Oh, okay, my bad. Who's the chick in Alien?
Sigourney Weaver.
Oh.
Yeah, you don't look like her at all.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I remember you saying that, but now I know who you're talking about. Okay. Damn, I didn't know. I'm sorry.
She was actually there was I think it was called Taxi, or what was that called? An old movie with Robert De Niro where she was a hooker. I think she was only 14 in the movie. That's where she got her first start. Taxi Driver, I forget what the name of it is. Very like a 70s movie. But her biggest claim to fame was acting and producing Silence of the Lambs. She's been in other stuff. Yeah, she actually produced that movie. It's it's a great movie. Yeah.
Wow.
So
yeah, that's awesome. So anyway, all right. Well, let's get back to the regular scheduled programming, because I wanted to ask how did you find Kent Hovind? Wait, at first you should introduce yourself so we know who you are, and I don't know how. I don't know. I'm not a professional, so forgive me. My bad.
Well, I'm Woohoo. That's my name. My real name's Jim Mason. I'm not sure if you're allowed to give your real name, but I don't care.
You are, but I wouldn't.
People know who I am. Well, do you want me to kind of give the story of how I became a Christian and how I kind of became a non-Christian? Or do you want me to talk about Kent Hovind?
Well, actually, the atheist part would come first, right? Like you were Christian and then atheist. Just tell me the whole story and then how you found Kent.
Well, I would never claim to be an atheist. That just implies that you have so much evidence that there isn't a God that you can say there isn't a God or creator. Obviously, that would be ridiculous to be able to say that. So I'm happy with the term agnostic, meaning I don't have the answers. I don't know the answers. Most Christians are atheists when it comes to the 3,000 other gods. They don't believe they exist. So they don't believe Zeus exists, or Muhammad, or Buddha, or whatever the god is. They also don't believe that those gods exist. So why not go one god further, which is the God of Israel, of the Jews?
The God of gods.
Yeah. So In fact, the early Christians were known as atheists because they didn't believe in the gods of Rome and Greece. So they actually called the early Christians atheists because they didn't believe in their gods. So it's kind of all relative. It all depends on what you believe, whether the other person's an atheist or not. I guess an atheist is a person who doesn't believe in your God. Anyway, that's kind of a whatever. So
Well, my bad. I
I'm
didn't mean to
happy
call
with
you
being
an
an
atheist. I know it's
agnostic.
an insult.
I'm happy being a agnostic of not knowing, not having all the answers. I'm really happy being in that space. I live by
So did you grow up a
probabilities now.
Christian?
What's that?
Did you grow
okay,
up
so,
a Christian?
Yeah, so my parents, most people were raised Christian, and my parents were Christians, and I was raised in the church, and as a Presbyterian church, and my mom was like more religious than my father, and she had kind of a simple faith. She wasn't very complicated in her faith. She didn't really deep dive. She just accepted it, believed it, and moved on. I didn't have a lot. They didn't force me to believe a certain way, which is good. And my dad is an attorney still alive. My mom died, but my dad's an attorney, so he's really more skeptical, even about religion. But he's a traditionalist,
Dad's
so
an
he goes to
attorney.
church every Sunday because his family went to church every Sunday, and that's just what they do. And
Man, is your dad successful? I'm sorry to get off on a rabbit trail, but your dad's a successful attorney? Or is he like a state attorney?
He's 90. He's 90 years old. And it depends on what you mean by successful. I mean, he's successful. It's a small town. He's very well known.
So he's a defense attorney?
Yeah. He could have made a lot more money, like going to the big city and specializing in certain law. But to be honest with you, he's helped a lot of people over the years that he knew that weren't going to pay him. He doesn't get the highfalutin cases, that pay millions of dollars. So he's done better than most.
You got to be
probably.
Smart.
What's
you
that?
Got to be smart when you're a defense attorney, because you take your own cases and you get if they don't win, sometimes it's harder to pay when you don't win, right? So
yeah,
it's a hard job.
Yeah, he's I would say upper middle class. Maybe we had a comfortable life. We never really had to worry about money, and he's still working. He still works full time. I'm working in his office right now. I'm the receptionist. So it's
nice, man.
Yeah, so
that's awesome.
Yeah, so I'm helping him out. I've been helping the family out for 5 or 6 years. So, and
nice. And he still gets around good,
Yeah, yep. He still drives. Still drinks beer. He's a lot more active than I am. He's on the go all the time. He's a member of all these clubs. He just can't stop moving. So
nice. Man, that's awesome. I'm so glad I know that now. Thank you.
Yeah. So, but he was very skeptical of religious claims and religious people. Jim and Tammy Baker were kind of popular when I was a teenager, and he could tell right away that they were scam artists. And my mom sent Jim Baker $1 because he said, if everyone sends $1, blah, blah, blah. And so my mom sent $1. My dad never let her live that down. Jim Baker eventually gets sent to prison over fraud claims where he defrauded people out of their money, and he got a prison sentence out of that. And my dad was right. He also was skeptical of the claims of the Bible, of people living to 90, 900 years old and that stuff. He's able to kind of see through that, but it doesn't matter. He goes to church every Sunday, and he's like what they call a social Christian, I would say, and he's a moral
Christian
person
now. So
What's
he's a
that?
Christian now.
Well, I don't know. There's a different definitions of Christian.
Well, is he saved? Does he believe?
I would have, I want to ask, when I was a born again Christian, that used to worry me. I didn't feel like my dad was saved. Now it doesn't, that whole issue, I don't think that whole issue doesn't bother me because they're not, my church is not that ilk of the evangelical of, doing the altar call and
So
believing
you
in
go to
the,
church.
so
Jeez, I'm sorry.
what, only my dad can answer that. I'm not going to ask him, have you ever accepted Jesus in your heart? I'm not going to ask him that. But honestly, because of the superstitions that surround Christianity when you're a Christian, especially a fundamentalist leaning Christian, all that stuff kind of bothers you. Who's going to go to heaven and who's not? Oh my God. And to have that burden that some of your family members won't be there, and some might. Well, I don't have that burden anymore. But I personally accepted that. I accepted the Jesus when I was about 10. So that would be when I accepted Jesus as my Lord and Savior, which is why I say once saved, always saved. If Jesus exists, I'm sorry, you're going to have to deal with me in heaven for all of eternity because I've been saved once. It's going to annoy the piss out of a lot of people that I get into heaven with my attitude now, but once saved, always saved, right? So I was about 10, and it was like late 70s, maybe 78. So, and around that time was a big nuclear war, the threat of nuclear war. There's a big Cold War between Russia and the USA. And I had just got done watching a show of how the whole world could be obliterated through a nuclear war. And that just like floored me. I couldn't even imagine that humans were powerful enough to just destroy all of humanity in a few days by flinging nuclear weapons. So I went through a really, really big depression. That's pretty heavy for a 10-year-old to have to deal with this. And that there is no safety. The world isn't safe. It's my first realization that we could all be annihilated. And I was pretty sure it was going to happen within the week. That's how scary it was back then. And so my mom, she said, well, just give your burdens to Jesus. Know that he died for your sins and that'll be all right. So I did. I had like this little vision of Jesus on the cross and my sins kind of going onto him. And then I was clear. My depression lifted. It's hallelujah. And from then, I actually started going to church myself. Now I've never been a group person. Even as a young kid, I was more of an introvert, not a groupie. I don't like groupthink or that. So they had an early church service at that time where maybe 10 people showed up. It'd be like 8 o'clock in the morning. And I like to hear the sermons. I'm also maybe weird that way. I don't like the music. I don't, the superfluous stuff. I just like the sermons, the 20-minute sermons. And I like deep diving, and the deep dives of the sermon appeal to me. So I gravitated towards, even though my church was middle of the road, Presbyterian, I started gravitating more towards evangelicalism and fundamentalism. The programs I would listen to on the radio were more geared to fundamentalism. As a side issue, I wasn't sophisticated enough to realize that this fundamentalism, they were also marrying right-wing political ideologies. I wasn't sophisticated to know that the two were different things. And in fact, a lot of times they don't even comport with each other. Like right-wing ideologies are almost the opposite. Most of them are the opposite of what Jesus is teaching in the Gospels. But for some reason, somehow it's propaganda. You start getting into that way of thinking, because most fundamentalists are right wing, are Republicans, far right. Most of them are far right, into far right ideologies. So I started drifting that way too, politically and religiously. The more fundamentalist I got. I mentioned in a video that I started playing the bass guitar and upright bass, and joined a Christian rock band when I was 14. So I'm in pretty big at this point. You can't get more Christian than I am at this point. I'm buying Christian records. Petra was a big name back then. Christian rock bands. There's a band called the Daniel Band that sounded like Rush, and I loved Rush, and this was the Christian version of Rush. And I was in a Christian rock band. I was reading at that time C.S. Lewis, a lot of C.S. Lewis, which is one of the first Christian apologetics, famous Christian apologetics. Thankfully, C.S. Lewis is somewhat liberal in his thinking, so that probably saved me from going too far off the deep end. So, so yeah, I'm in deep. I'm reading every C.S. Lewis book I can get my hands on, and listening to the radio,
what you're
Christian
saying,
programming.
what you're saying is everything was going fantastic. What happened?
Well, it's kind of a slow. I mean, it's a slow journey out of that.
Well, something usually upsets people, and then they start
that paradigm. Well, I was all at the same time. Well, I go to college, and college makes you think in a different way than you do in high school and elementary. It makes you more of a critical thinker. I'm not going to lie about that. And I was also at the same time. I'm heavy into Christianity. I'm heavy into astrological astrology, astronomy topics, physics topics. I'm a big Carl Sagan guy. Carl Sagan's is if you don't know anything about Carl Sagan, he was an atheist.
I know a little bit.
But he has a really creative writing style, very easy writing style to read. And he had a show in the 70s and 80s called Cosmos. And for some reason, I was able to believe what he was saying and believe what the Bible was saying, and be able to have those two different worldviews in my head at the same time, and be able to, those were able to coexist in my mind. So, I don't know how I did it, but I did it. I could read Carl Sagan and 1 second and read C.S. Lewis. Although I'm going to say again, C.S. Lewis was pretty liberal. He accepted evolution. He wasn't like he wasn't like a young Earth creation fundamentalist type of Christian anyway. So he
believed on evolution. My bad.
Yeah, but I was more. I knew, and from Carl Sagan and from others, I knew the universe was very old, and that the universe is very, very, very large, and I knew about light speed and why the universe is old, and
so let's jump forward. Let's jump forward to Kent Hovind.
Oh, okay.
And when you found him.
So eventually, your picture went out, by the way.
I know. I turned it off. I turned it off so I could be a bad Christian.
Oh, okay. So it occurred to me, I don't know why I never thought about it. I said, hey, if evolution is true, then Genesis can't be true. There's no way to marry him. I know that there's probably 2 billion Christians that are able to believe in evolution and Genesis at the same time. But I said, there's no way those two can be true. They're not compatible. And so I went down a kind of a deep dive. It wasn't something that freaked me out. It was just something I kind of like really started to think about, like, how this just, the two can't be true. They're, you either believe one or the other. I guess you could believe in something else. I don't know what it'd be, but there are other
So why
creation
did
stories. There are
why
other
did you pick the
religions with
opposite?
other creation stories that you could believe in. The
So
Hindus
why did
actually
you?
believe that the universe is 15 trillion years old. So if you want to believe in an even older universe than that you were created by a god, you could be a Hindu. So
Well, there's a guy that comes on my show that believes the Earth is only 1,000 years old. So
I mean,
you know,
well, you can believe whatever you want. I mean,
yeah,
whether it's true or
that's a
not, it's
little
another
crazy,
story.
but
And you know, it doesn't really, it doesn't affect your life. If you believe the universe is 6,000 years old, you still have to put food on the table. It's not really
yeah,
going to change what you have to do to get through to survive.
exactly.
There are other cultures like the Japan and China that have been largely atheistic for tens of thousands of years, for longer than the universe has existed. They've been atheist communities that have thrived and done well. There are actually less crime rates in these
Never
countries.
evolved.
So
Sorry.
they did seem to do better without a god, without religion. So it's not necessarily to have a god.
Better.
Well, China's done a lot better than Israel has. So the god of Israel has not really have performed worse than the non-god of China, because China has largely stayed intact for their whole history without a whole lot
Of course, because people are living. People are living, you know.
So anyway, that's going off on a tangent. But so Kent Hovind. So yeah, I started deep diving, and somehow these young Earth creationists started to get on my radar. And also that it's coinciding with the internet. So I'm getting information that I wouldn't seek prior to the internet. I wouldn't go out, especially as a Christian, I would only buy stuff that confirmed my beliefs. I wouldn't go out and intentionally read a book that went against my beliefs. I would have said, oh, that idea is from Satan or whatever, or the devil or whatever, that I'm not going to buy that material. It's evil. So being on the internet, I was exposed to atheists for the first time, and they're not the first time, but on a level that I've never been exposed to before. And Christopher Hitchens was a biggie. I love watching his videos. And there's others. I just thought they had the better logical argument. The atheists had a lot better logical arguments. The reasoning
It's definitely
was a lot
cooler. You know.
I don't know about cooler. It's just easier. It's just more. It just makes more sense. It's just more logical. But so obviously Kent Hovind is starting to pop up, and these debates are popping up between Kent Hovind and all these different people. And I just find Kent entertaining. He doesn't upset me. I'm not annoyed by Christianity or Christians. I'm not mad at them. I'm not bitter. I'm kind of unusual. I still consider myself in a lot of ways a Christian, probably a philosophical Christian. There's a lot of it I still believe. I still believe a lot of the teachings of Christianity I believe, and I have no problems with. So yeah, compared to a lot of people that maybe you talk to that are atheists, I'm not bitter. Nobody raped me. Sorry, I'll probably get you demonetized by saying that. No one SA'd me, or my ministers were all cool people. My family.
You just seen a cool atheist.
Yeah, my family allowed me to think how I wanted to think. They never really put restrictions on my thought process. I was able to believe what I wanted.
Yeah, but remember when you prayed and you all that stress and anxiety went away? I mean, what do you do with that? What do you do with that? It worked. It literally worked.
I'm not saying it didn't work,
Something.
but it has an explanation. It definitely has an explanation. If I use Mickey Mouse. If my mom said Mickey Mouse died for your sins, and you just give it all to Mickey Mouse tonight, the same thing would have happened. I would have seen a little vision in my head of Mickey Mouse. Maybe Mickey Mouse hanging on a cross. I don't know if that was our religion. Mickey Mouse hanging on a cross, and all my burdens going off to Mickey Mouse. Mickey Mouse takes off my burdens. And I would have, the act of dumping my burdens to Mickey Mouse, whether he was real or not, was what allowed me to heal.
Well, you can't prove that.
There is a secular psychological explanation. It was internal. These things were going on inside me. It wasn't external. The thought in my head was kind of like more of a dream, like where a vision, like you can close your eyes and visualize things. That's what it was. It wasn't like me looking the heavens open and a dove comes out and
I know.
the angels start singing. It wasn't an external. I've never had an external Christian experience. They've all been internal, within, inside, eternal. There's never really been a whole lot of proof externally that there's a God in my mind. Yeah, I went to Christian rock. Isn't. I went to a Christian rock concert, and you get the buzz and the good feelings, but you get those from secular concerts too. I probably had more intense feelings from secular concerts. So
definitely.
These are things that are happening psychologically, whether there's a God or not. You're going to be moved by music. And evangelicals are the worst, the charismatics, especially at like trying to get to your emotions and playing the music to get your emotions. Everything's feely, all emotions. So in some of these Christian sects.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's how I got to the asking the question is how can Genesis and evolution be compatible is what sent me down this road to eventually where I actually go and visit Mr. Kent Hovind.
And that's right.
Yeah, so like I said, and I have a little video about that, and he's a nice guy. He doesn't bother me. I don't even think a lot, whatever he's done is criminal, except for maybe pushing Cindy Lincoln to the ground, if that's true. I don't see enough evidence that he actually shoved her to the ground from that videotape. You can't tell what's happening. He probably shoved her. He probably shoved her. Thank you for being
honest.
But she also was, if you hear from the video, she's just going insane. So, and she's trying to steal a phone from him and stuff. So whatever.
Yeah. And, I just want to say she was acting that way because he was gaslighting her and because he wasn't listening to her, and he's a narcissist and he's a narcissistic abuser, and no one could ever see anything, and it's still happening. Just wanted to
It's true.
Say that.
I just, maybe because I was raised by a defense attorney, I just don't go all crazy and convict people before I have all the evidence. That's just, maybe that's why I'm an agnostic now, because dad, I was raised, arguments were fine. I was raised in a family where you had arguments as a way to get into the truth, and I'm comfortable with arguing. I'm comfortable with people having different opinions. I'm not an angry person. I would never spend more than a day at his compound. I would never build his kingdom for free food. I think you're ridiculous if you think that's worth the trade-off. But
I don't think
I would never.
That.
It's his place. He's allowed to do whatever he wants. If he can get away with it, who cares? He's getting away with it. He's building his kingdom on the sweat and tears of these poor people that end up.
So, man, I love the way you think. What the hell? Why didn't I know this about you?
As far as I know, he's allowed to do that. So,
yeah.
So me. I just get a chuckle out of it. I'm totally entertained by it. The whole thing. as far as I'm concerned, he's just a source of my entertainment. It's kind of been sad lately. He's gone like 2 years without a whole lot of drama. Except for getting kicked off of YouTube. That's always fun, but that's happened more than once. So
yeah, now we can't watch him. But
yeah. And there's
I guess
a lot
the
of,
next wife,
people put out a lot of funny anti-Hovind stuff that I enjoy. Whoever, not Creaky Blinder or whatever he is, there's one, that British guy that puts out kind of funny videos. I'm trying to think.
British
Bowling, something bowling. Claude.
Oh, Claude Balls.
Yeah, Claude Balls. His
name.
stuff is funny. Pretty funny. So I like the
Claude
back and
Balls.
forth, the drama between Kent and the atheist community, or the skeptic. I'm going to say the skeptic community, because atheism is kind of a weird term. I guess I side a lot more with the atheists than the fundamentalists, but yeah.
You're a full-blown spirit-filled Christian.
Yeah, unfortunately,
I believe it in my heart.
Saved, always saved. I'm going to see all in heaven. But
oh, you just living wild right now.
Even Jesus said the first will be last and the last will be first. Well, I'm the last guy you would think would be in heaven. So peace out, dudes. Some of you that are that I get under your tits, as the kids say, I might end up there, and you might end up watching me from the fiery flames of hell. So
I'm one of those people that you get on their nerves. And if anybody knows Woohoo, okay, he is the guy that has I'm going to pull up this picture of the Jesus on a dinosaur. Oh man, this is because people recognize this.
That's my emblem.
Well, I know my people will.
That says everything I think about fundamentalist Christianity. So that right there, that picture is everything. All you need to know. All you need to know about what I think about young Earth creation.
This guy took all the stress and anxiety you had away, and this is how you thank him. You put him on a T-Rex.
Now
you put him on a chicken.
I give my burdens to that Jesus, not the Jesus on the cross, the Jesus riding the T-Rex. So, in my darkest hours, I give him all my burdens. So that's my story, Kent Hovind. Any other questions?
Yes. Actually, wait. So what? Wait. Yeah, man, I don't know. Now that I know that, let me think. Just give me a second. I know you said that you've been married. Well, actually, because see, I'm not getting a straight answer out of you whenever I ask you like what happened, what made you like change. I think it was an atheist online you probably seen is what I'm gathering, and you got because the way you're describing it is you were seeking stuff already. Like if you were a Christian and you would turn something down because it's pagan or something like that, you wouldn't even be looking for anything to contradict, So, I mean, you watching atheists just alone is, one of them influenced you or something. I think you were, a good Christian.
I think that's largely because the internet, because don't forget, I wasn't on the internet till 2006. So from 1978 until 2006, I wasn't being exposed to alternative material. So, like most Christians, I was only seeking out information that already confirmed what I believed, which is a horrible, in my opinion now, a horrible way to go. But that's how people are. I mean, atheists
you had your anecdotal evidence.
Atheists do the same. Everyone is confirmation. Everyone is guilty of confirmation bias. We all seek out what our own opinions. It happens with liberals and conservatives politically. They just watch Liberals just watch liberal material all day. That's why there's such a rift in our country. The propaganda is so heavy on the left side and the right side. It's I just don't even watch it anymore. I watch people fight on Facebook, and I get it's just ridiculous. The people on the far right are only watching things on the far right, and only things that to confirm what they already believe. And when I was a kid, I hate to be that old man and get off my yard kind of guy, but we had 3 news channels, and they didn't give opinions. They just read the news. And you didn't have this bias creep in. And it wasn't really until Fox News was the first news channel to actually say, oh, okay, we're gonna just like insert our right-wing ideology into this news program. And it worked. I mean, without Fox News, we probably wouldn't, I don't know what, we might not have ever elected a Republican. But they figured it out. They figured out how to get into the minds of the people. And now left wings, they have their programs in MSNBC and CNN or whatever. And they're all watching, it's called confirmation bias, where you just watch what you already agree with. And
well, it's good to have both sides in this whole thing, the political thing, because that keeps them honest. There's always going to be somebody digging and looking and making sure that you're not lying or that this is correct. Or, I mean, because they would just love to be like, Fox News made a mistake and, this right. and that. And it's like, they're constantly watching for that stuff with each other, So, I mean, it's good. It's a good strategy, I think, is to have both sides. And it keeps them in competition. They don't have if they don't have anyone to compete with, they don't have any reason to get better,
Yeah, and I'm kind of a centrist. I'm a little left of center. So I'm generally happy because our government stays moderate over time. Pendulum swings to the left, sometimes and swings to the right, but in general, our country is a moderate one, a centrist one, and that's kind of where I am politically. So I might be one of the few people that are happy with American politics, because that's where we usually end up. And I think because my dad was a defense attorney, I'm very strong on civil rights. So that's where I become a liberal. I just believe people deserve to live how they want, as long as they're not harming anyone else. They should have the freedom to do what they want. And so I'm really liberal. If you ask me, should drugs be legalized? I'm going to say yes. Or prostitution, yes. Anything that's a victimless crime, if 2 adults agree on it, on the exchange, and I'm gonna say it should be legal.
Addict? What's that? You ever had a drug addict in your family?
No, I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. I've had my struggles with alcohol. I like to drink. When I was in my 20s, I was in bands. I was in rock bands, and I drank a lot. I still can go a little crazy, and I have to keep an eye on it. I'm not one of these that has to have a drink. I can go whatever. I don't have to drink every day, but when I do drink, I tend to partake a little bit too much and get a little crazy.
Well, as long as you're not sucking the life out of your family, a drug addict, it drains the energy out of the entire family, because you got people that are mad at the enablers, and it's the hardest thing ever. It's not a victimless thing for sure. Sorry. I just realized what's happening there. My bad about the zipper. Oh. I just realized when I reached forward, my bad.
I can't really see. I have a little screen of us talking, so I can't see us that well. So
okay, good.
You could strip naked. I might not even be able to see it. So.
Oh, sorry about that.
But later, when you give me the recording, I'm gonna zoom in. So.
We'll cut this part out. Maybe I'll I don't know. Never mind. Anyway, What else? What else? There was one last thing.
But
Yeah, you say whatever you want to say.
Back to Brett Keane. I just want to say something. Like, I would never you're the only person I would give an interview to. Partly
Really?
because you're attractive. So I'm gonna go there. I'm very superficial. But Brett Keane, I would never let him interview me. And I'm gonna tell you this, and you can keep this in. I can actually smell his BO through the YouTube. I can smell his armpit BO wafting through the YouTube whenever I watch his programming. So I can't even watch him now. So, sorry, I know he's your best friend. So.
He is not my best friend. What the hell? No, I don't. Yeah, I don't know. I used to have a best friend. I don't really.
Was it female or male?
Guess. Well, it was a male, but yeah. Anyway, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I'll talk about that later or something. But what else? Oh yeah, you want to plug your YouTube channel and your Facebook or whatever, if it's still. Yeah, it is still live. I not live, but your Facebook is still up because I was just on there, but it does get not banned, but what do you call that? Like, I don't know. You get in trouble on there all the time. I don't know what the hell you're doing. Are you harassing people? Like, what in the world is going on?
I mean, I don't think I've gotten in trouble in a while. There was a time where Zuckerberg was banning everything. Like, for instance, there's a Led Zeppelin album called Houses of the Holy. A very good album if you're into 70s classic rock. It's a very popular album, but it has little naked girls on the front cover going up these rocks. And that got me banned for a long time. And they eventually overturned that ban because people, you can't post a picture of an album cover, like a famous album. And so they actually overturned that, but I was banned for maybe 30 days over that because of reasons. Also, if you mention Hitler or do anything, like, for instance, Hitler was a Christian before, like in the 20s and 30s, he quoted the Bible more than he did later in life. And he would say that their movement is Christian, blah, blah, blah. And the Nazis, they had a form of Christian nationalism that's similar to the MAGA Christian nationalists. They believe in similar things. So obviously that's something that I don't agree with and I think is harmful. I don't think Christian nationalism has ever done anybody. It might do the Christian nationalists good. It doesn't do anybody else good. It didn't do the Jews good in 1945, and it doesn't do the Mexicans good here in 2026 or whatever.
I thought Christian nationalism was just like right-wing Christians that are proud to be Americans. I don't know.
It's just mixing the ideology, mixing patriotism with religion, and getting the common people whipping them into a fervor, because those are the two biggest hot button issues in the world. And of course, Americans believe God is American. He's totally on our side. He's rooting for us. Like, we're better than Germany, or we're better than Mexico. That's a problem with Christian nationalism. It becomes extremely tribal. So that's also what the Nazis believe. They mix Christianity with all these right-wing ideologies and anti-immigration. The Nazis were anti-immigrants, and the MAGA are anti-immigrants. Very similar. I mean, the MAGA people aren't going to want to hear this, but they're very similar, their ideologies. Hitler was even more socially conservative than Trump, because Hitler didn't like gambling. Hitler was a vegetarian, didn't like that. Hitler was against drinking and smoking and porn, and at least
That's
at
crazy.
least Trump makes money on those things, so he hasn't really been totally against gambling, obviously, because he owns casinos and he's been with porn stars, so I don't think he's said anything against porn. But it is so anyway, Christian nationalism, I think, is scary. So I mean, for people like me that don't believe in it, sure think that it's a horrible thing to do. So I forget what we were talking about. I'm not sure why we got on this tangent.
Oof, I don't even know. My bad.
So,
so anyway, oh yeah, your YouTube channel. Like, what are your plans with it? What do you just want to like talk about what's on your mind? And
I think it's cathartic. If I get 0 views or 1 view, I know I like some of my longer videos have 1 view, and I don't care. It's just a way for me to express myself. I honestly am I really never thought of myself as a great communicator, at least not when I talk. I always was better at writing because I could think before I lay down what I want to say. I probably still am a better writer. But when I watch my video back, I go, well, yeah, I think I'm pretty lucid, and I feel like I'm making sense, and actually a better communicator than I thought I was. So I'm just going to keep doing it. I'm going to make them as simple as possible. I put the little woohoo up there when I can. And that's going to be it. You know, it could go viral. One day I could wake up and there's 1 million views. Yeah, or Trump and his buddies are stringing me off to jail over something I said, because I'm not sure how long we're going to have the First Amendment right to have the freedom of religion or freedom of political thought, but I'm okay with that. I've lived a good life. If they haul me off to jail and whatever because I don't believe how they believe, then I'll just deal with that at the time. For now, I'm going to just say what I want to say. And
yeah, and I agree with you on the writing part, because I think you're hilarious. I mean, we've been talking for, I don't know, it's been a while. I mean, on and off, you know, because yeah, but you know, I think you're hilarious, and the more you do it, the more comfortable you'll get, and then that will come out in your videos. So I think, because you know, if you you know, watch them over, just, and then, you know, be honest. I don't know why I keep saying, you know, but be honest with yourself about yourself, and you'll get comfortable with it. I mean, I'm way more comfortable now than I was when I first made my first video. Were you around when I made my videos?
Well, which ones are you talking about?
Like when I first started my channel and I was responding to Mark. That's how I started my channel. Was my videos were responding to his videos.
Didn't you? But, well, even before you had your channel, right? You were responding to certain videos, right?
No, I just, when all this Kent Hovind drama started, and you know, after a while, nobody was like doing anything. I'm like, all right, I guess I'll do it myself. And then Brett Keane gave me the advice to come on camera, and I did. And yeah, that was it. So I was just making videos, basically playing marks and then like pausing it and, you know, giving my, you know, thoughts on it and stuff. And that was like, I don't know, it's been about 2 years now, you know, when all that first drama started out, and Brett Keane was having Cindy and then having Kent on and all that. I was just out in the crowd, you know, watching and, you know, getting pissed.
I mean, you know, I've joined a few times. I go in there, cause some trouble, stir up some shit, and leave. But I'm not much, like I said, I'm not much into the group thing. So that's probably why I don't spend more time on your channel, because it's people in groups, and it just kind of gets too confusing. I'm either can just like talk on my own or talk one-on-one. And by the way, might as well exercise while I'm talking.
Yeah, see, I like that too. How you
See,
how you're
that's
exercising
good
in your
video,
videos.
isn't it? That's like
Yeah.
enticing interview. Uh, so yeah, that's why um, I'm a voyeur. I like to watch other people talk, and I like it when people get in fights, and I like stirring up the shit and then leaving the room and watching two people fight.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. He ain't lying about that.
Yeah.
He is a shit stirrer. I mean, I don't know who's worse, you or.
Well, we're both trolls.
Yeah.
You're about as worse as I am.
Oh no,
You're
I'm
a
not.
troll
I'm not
too.
that kind of troll though. I'm talking about between you and like some. Yeah, just you guys, just all of you guys that like
Is Christian Pike still coming on your channel?
No, I said I dropped an F-bomb in Gangster Ghost chat, and he timed me out, and we haven't been very nice to each other since. I don't know, we haven't been mean or anything, but we're not really talking. So
well, he's not bad. He's very fundamentalist in his beliefs, but at least he's open to hearing other people's opinions and gives good arguments why he doesn't believe them. I'm okay with that. A lot of Christians, they don't want to be questioned. They don't like questions. And so I'm okay if any Christian comes on there and is willing to talk over these topics and be honest. And there are a few out there that can do it. I realize that most Christians, so I don't bug them, if they want to ask me a question or talk to me about a Christian topic, I'll do it, but I won't confront someone. I'm not, like I said, I'm not bitter. If you want to be a Christian, have at it. Just, I guess just be the best Christian you can, because if you actually follow the words of Jesus, you're going to be a pretty good person. So just the problem is most Christians don't actually follow the words. So they just believe that they can say a few magic words and they're going to go to heaven and they don't have to do anything else. So, and that gives them the right to just pretty much live like anyone else. There's not a whole lot that differentiates a Christian from an atheist.
yeah,
Most of the atheists I know are better people, partly because atheists are better educated. I would say an educated person is going to be more ethical than a non-educated. So I would say a PhD is probably going to commit less crimes and less sins in general than a Christian who doesn't have a GED. I think education has more to do with our behavior than religion does. So
well,
that's just,
I've been using the argument recently in science and failed medical science. There's tons of examples out there where we have been wrong, and we could be wrong now, and everybody's using all this evidence like, oh, this is the proof